It's dark. The last thing you remember, you were doing your various jobs in the mining crew. Something was struck by one of the machines. The machine jammed up, there was an explosion, and then a rush of water? What was that? But then you thought you were drowning, but you just kept falling, hitting the rocks over and over and over again. You don't know how long you were falling for. But eventually you hear the bloop of being dropped into this freezing, ice-cold, pitch-black lake. There's no lights. You can barely catch your breath in this Arctic water. And then suddenly, boom, boom. Those you see bright lights, explosions. It must have been the machines. Something must have happened. And you hear people yelling, screaming, really, other members of your team, what do you do?
We can't see anything?
Pitch black. Nothing except...
Can I roll a notice for when one of the explosions went off to see if I can find an edge or a coast I can pull myself up off of?
I would give that. That should be easy enough. You know that if you went maybe 50 yards to your right, you can get to the coast.
I do that.
All right. And you can hear your other crew members in the water trying to swim, trying to get purchase. Some of them might be even yelling out. Like say, M.A.D, what exactly would you be doing in this scenario?
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do I have the ability to create cantrips? Or something to the effect of that?
Yeah. What do you want to try to do?
I want to tap into my water elemental. And
Okay.
Because I know about phosphorescent fish, I create a light inside the water like that. And create like a bubble of water.
Okay. Yeah, that should be easy enough for you to accomplish without much issue. But with this ice cold water, I will want you to roll a discipline roll, please. See if you can maintain your concentration.
A 3.
Okay. Well, for 3, it's hard. You can feel your fingers are probably trembling, but you can maintain this. And how would that look? Your elemental look producing this kind of glow.
Well, I think I have 2 like almost like little bird cages that I keep on me. And when I pull the energy out of the elemental, the water element, you can kind of see threads of magic in the water as I move it around to do what I want it to do. And then it creates a little glowing phosphorescent light so that I can see.
All right, and with that little glowing light, you can see some of what's happening. Some of the mining tools are definitely gone and sunk to the bottom of this pitch black lake, and you can see some of your fellow miners, Yoku specifically, swimming to. Oh, there's the shore. Who else do you see? Who's the first person you see after Yoku?
He will see Alliyah struggling very hard, splashing and almost unable to stay above the surface when he finally dips under and doesn't come back up.
I might be there next to him, and would kind of notice this head go up, go down, come up again, go down, and then stay down, stay down, stay down, and think, and I'd kind of go back, reach down as far as I can. Do I feel anything?
Normally you'd think you might, but your fingers are so numb, you wouldn't know if you were actually touching anything at this point. You fear that you might actually have to dunk your head down and try to catch him before he hits the bottom.
Okay, so then I would and dive in, giving a good couple pulls to pull myself down.
Do me a favor, roll me a notice check, please. And Alliyah, if you could roll me an endurance check.
That is 4 ones.
4 ones. So you're starting the night off right.
Yeah, just getting them in there now.
Nice. So you dive. You dive and you want to save Alliyah. But it's, even with your being accustomed to the dark, this frigid water, you're not used to this. It's down to your bones. And actually at this point, you don't actually remember which way's up, and that cold is reaching deep into your chest now. And with that, Yoku, you made it halfway to the shore, and you see the phosphorescent glow of those bird cages that M.A.D keeps around. With that to your left, the opposite side of the shore, you caught the glimpse of one and then a second one of your crew members going underwater and not coming back up.
Oh, hell no! I would like to invoke family and go after them.
All right. So did you actually want to spend the fate point on it to give you a boost?
Oh, hell yeah.
All right.
This is life or death. What do you want me to roll? Endurance, athletics?
Roll me endurance, please, because at this point, you've been in the water for longer than you would care.
With the +2, I have 5.
Very nice. With that, you dive underneath the water. The cold is biting you, but your conviction to save your team members is overpowering that cold. You dive deep down, and you said, give me a notice. Let's see how long it takes you to find them, actually.
Do a notice or investigate?
Either one, whichever one you're better at.
I like it when you say these words. That is a 3.
Okay, and that was investigate or notice?
That was investigate.
Okay. With that, 3, you swim in that direction, and you hit something solid. It's the bottom of this lake. But you haven't found them yet. You're frantic almost at one point. You're searching, and then you bump into something. You feel close. And as you continue to search while grabbing onto that one, you grab onto another leg. You don't know if these are the 2 same members, but you found 2 bodies. So.
I hoist them up.
Okay. And your endurance check from before, I'll keep it for right now.
Okay.
M.A.D. Everyone's underwater now.
Everybody's underwater?
Everyone's underwater. And it's been actually, give me an endurance check, because it's been about 30 seconds. It feels like forever in this ice cold water. But please give me an endurance check to see how you're holding up.
A 3.
A 3 is unfortunate. You will take 2 physical stress for the moment. And at this point, you can see, with that cold biting into you, see 3 people rising up out of the water, and you can see that it's Yoku, Parts, and Alliyah. But you're all still.
I can get out of the water at him. Can I see a place to get away?
Yeah, with your glowing, with the phosphorescent creature, you know that the shore is about 50 yards out still. But looking at Alliyah at a brief glance, you don't know if they can, what's your character's name again? Yoku can swim them over there in time before hypothermia strikes him. Is there anything you would like to do?
Yes. This may take one of my actual energy points. I don't know how much it would take, but I want to reach out in the water and create a bubble around everybody and then heat it like a hot spring.
Oh. Okay. Well,
Tell me what you think that would cost.
Considering the temperature of the water, you're looking at a strength 4 to make it comfortable, or at least, bearable.
Ouch. Okay. So
since the power level is set at 4, roll me a discipline and tell me what you get.
Oh, I think, okay. I got a 3. But I was going to say this before. I was going to go ahead and use a fate point.
Okay. You can do that now. It's still okay.
Because I know water is my
yes
aspect. And then I'll use a fate point and it'll be 5.
Which will put you over what you need. So I believe your power level is only a 3 though, so you will take 2, or I should say your water elemental will take 2 mental stress, or 2 physical stress, I should say. But what happens is this it creates this warm whirlpool around yourself and your crew members, and it's almost life-giving again. It's like being able to take your first breath even though your heads are above surface. This it's like the first hot jet out of a jacuzzi just hit you, and it's incredibly refreshing. With that going on, and you guys swimming, it wouldn't take you long to make it to the stone shore and get out of this frigid lake. With that, you guys pull yourselves out and look around, I suppose. There, you find yourselves in what seems to be a large underground cavern. A waterfall coming from a cave up in the ceiling of the cavern, just emptying out. That must have been where you came from. You don't see much except for stalagmites and stalactites and the slippery stone shore that you're on. All you see is the lake, the waterfall, and the river that the lake seems to empty out into. Aside from that, there's no light. Aside from the phosphorescent glow of Muddy's water elemental. That only shines light probably around the 4 of you and maybe a dozen or so yards outside of that. So yes, what will you 4 do?
I need to check all my pockets. I keep all these little containers that I can use to mix chemicals together and seal, and that's how I make my explosives. It's really important that the containers don't get wet. So if I start running my hands, they are supposed to be sealed, so it's not just like if they get in the water, they're automatically ruined. They just have to stay sealed. So if I run my hands through, what do I say? Is everything okay?
It seems that most of your supplies, most of the important supplies you have, are safe and untainted. You have maybe certain broken vials of some second-rate materials, things that would have been in less protected pockets. But for the most part, the important things you have are still on you. Otherwise, things could have been worse.
So I'm doing that as everybody else is doing. So.
Next question. Can Alliyah breathe, or is he choking, or is he okay? Is he taking on water?
Alliyah is, he's just on his hands and knees on the shore, coughing, and coughing and coughing. And when he stops coughing, he's shivering uncontrollably and just says, "What the in Thermia happened?"
All I know is there was an explosion of some sort. There were multiples, and now we're down here swimming in a lake.
Okay. I'm going to take the cage for Hera and set her in the water with like a little chain that so she fishes in the water.
Okay. Hera's the.
And then I take Granite and set him down there and kind of go, you watch her. And then I want to go, and I'm hoping this is more of a cantrip and don't cost a lot of my energy. But I want to take and go to each person and see if I can basically bring all the water out of their clothes. That way we're at least somewhat warming up.
It would take a few minutes, but it's definitely not something that warrants a discipline roll. So yeah, you'd have to go to each one by one, but you would empty out the freezing cold water that was clinging to them. So now everyone's a bit more comfortable and less prone to hypothermia.
Thanks.
And I would just kind of like see all the water, like I was drying things off, and all of a sudden it's gone. And I'm just like, oh, that was, that was a lot easier.
All right, so the four of you find yourselves in this situation. You're helping each other out a little bit, and now several minutes have passed. Nothing's changed. The water's still flowing. There are no more explosions. It probably occurs to most of you that based on the things you can remember of the events, the explosion, the rocks falling, the water hitting you, that most likely that mine flooded. And based on how long you were falling, you think it's very unlikely that any rescue is going to come, at least by that means, considering the amount of water coming through that waterfall. You're going to have to, it occurs to all four of you that you're going to have to find your own way out of here. So, what is your reactions to all this?
Yoku is definitely a mite unhappy, and he gazes up at the hole in the ceiling, knowing that even if he were to call to see if anyone would answer, it'd be highly unlikely at this point, considering he doesn't see anybody else making for the shore either. And he looks over the group, who, thanks to Muddy's talents, are now not freezing in their miner's clothing, and he searches for his pockets for a minute, and unsuccessfully not finding something, and he's like, does anyone have a compass? I don't know where I put mine.
A compass, why would I? Of course you don't have it.
Okay, nobody has a compass?
I could see if I do. I have a lot of resources, but I generally use it for my very particular devices. But maybe I can make a resource roll and see if I'd be prepared enough for that.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
have an idea that should probably be a cantrip for me.
Oh, okay. Well, I rolled 3 evens. One of them's a 6, and I have a 4 in resources.
Oh, well, you probably have one.
Yeah.
All right then. With that,
4, 5, 6, 7, right? I just need to refresh my memory on Fate a little bit. That should be 7, right? It's just the number of pluses plus the resources.
exactly. Yes.
Okay.
So 7 total. You're saying?
Yep. Yeah, because the other one
Alright.
was 3. So.
Well then, yes. Luckily, in your pockets while you were searching, one of the things that stayed intact is your compass. You don't know how it survived that fall, but it did.
And I go to dry it off, but it's like bone dry because somebody else in the party has already taken care of that. And I just go, oh yeah, that's right. And I hand it over to Yoku, who had asked.
Considering there's not going to be much parchment or paper that would have survived that, I don't know. Unless are your magics that powerful to bring paper back to life, M.A.D?
I'm not sure about that one.
So DM question.
I would
Did
say
it all
we ought to look
disintegrate
around.
in
Is
the
there any?
water?
Is there any way we can go anywhere without going into the water?
That's actually easy enough to find out. The lake empties out into a strong river, an underground river, that does seem to have a shore on each side of it. So you can, assuming that the river empties out somewhere, you can follow that without having to go back in the water.
Somebody lead on.
I'll not be leading. That would
Okay.
be clear.
Main question. Since we're familiar with our work site and where we've been digging, would we know with the compass what direction our actual, would we know where we're oriented in the mountain, vaguely?
Looking at the compass, you know that you're oriented. I mean, you wouldn't know exactly where, like a GPS location or anything like that. You know that you're probably.
I know vaguely this side. If I go, for example, east, that would bring me to the east side of the mountain, hopefully, or west, so which side of the mountain would be the closest? I assume that's how we got into the entire mine.
Okay. Yeah. For you, the closest exit of the mountain, or the closest side of the mountain from where you came from, would be the eastern side. The eastern side of the mountain, which at first glance seems to be the direction that the river is heading.
All right, if no one has any objections, I would suggest following the river eastward.
Seems to be the path of least resistance.
I do not want to go back into that water personally, if we do not have to. My Xijeet blood does not belong in that water, no.
All right.
Can we walk along its side without climbing in? Or?
Yes, the stones the stone shore on either side of it seems a bit slick and slippery, but definitely passable. Base maybe 10, 15 feet on each side.
Okay, so then he would say to Alliyah, he would just say, well, if you step lightly, perhaps you'll avoid another spill.
Oh, there's a path. Oh, thank the scale. Oh, there's balance down to today. Oh. And Alliyah will just look to Yoku to lead on.
I grab here and I grab my 2 elementals before we go.
Oh yeah. I'll hoist up my shield and hammer, and I'll lead the way.
Okay. So, with that, the intrepid mining crew follows the river and heads deeper, hopefully farther away from the center of this mountain. And you continue walking, traveling alongside this river, and soon you realize that this river does not go in a straight line. It winds. It's left and right, and sometimes it angles down, and at that point you have to be careful and watch your steps so you don't fall into the river from the slope. But that's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is you've been walking for a long time now. Several hours, in fact, actually. You don't know what time of day it is. You know that when you first fell into the cave, it was maybe an hour after lunch. But God only knows what time it is now. All you know is that you're aching, you're relatively cold from being next to this glacial river, and you don't see any end in sight yet. What do? Do you continue on? Do you hunker down? What are the thoughts of you adventurers right now?
If we're at the point where everyone seems to be lagging, Yoku would call for a stop. Considering we could be under physical trauma we don't know from hitting things and hitting the river on our way down.
Mm-hmm. And if you do hunker down, that would definitely be something you notice that the cold may have prevented it at first, but you're definitely seeing the welts and scrapes from bouncing off of those stones and falling what must have been hundreds of feet. Actually, now that you think about it at this point, it's a miracle that you didn't perish during that fall. So, please explain to me what do you guys do to hunker down, or what you say to each other in this moment?
All right. Well, since Yoku's leading, and he's been looking back every once in a while to see how everyone's been doing, and noticing that Alliyah there seems to be lagging a bit. He seems to be hurting more than he lets on. Among others being tired. He goes ahead and he stops and he turns to look at the group and he says, I think now would be a good time to rest as any. Take stock of what injuries you may have that have been inflicted on you on the way down. Full stock of what gear you have as well. Now that we've made some progress. I'll take first watch if anyone wants to switch with me. For the second.
I will take the second watch. I don't mind the dark. And just looking around, what kind of light situation is it?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question?
What's the light like down here? What can we see? What can we not see?
It is 100% pitch black in these tunnels. There is, unfortunately, save for whatever lights you have on you, or whatever lights that M.A.D is able to produce. If it wasn't for those things, you would be blind right now.
Okay. So, in the light that M.A.D has produced for us, do I see anything floating down the river? Like, is it just rock and water here? Is that pretty much the elements we have to work with?
Here at this part of the cave, yes.
Okay.
Yes. There would have been things back at the where you landed, possibly from the exploded mining equipment.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'd like to see if I can take some of my chemicals that I use for explosions. Kind of try to find like a crease in the rock, something that I could pour chemicals into that it won't just run out. I like to try to kind of make like an alchemical bonfire, small, controlled, but try to generate some heat.
if it's just for a bonfire type deal, yeah, I'd say that's essentially cantrip level. You can narrate that any way you wish. It would take you a few minutes to accomplish, but yes, you can definitely accomplish it.
Yeah, so I'm just going to take some little vials out of my my leather belt and just kind of start pouring them in drips into this like crevice in the rock that would kind of cup and cradle some liquids, hold it for at least a little while. And by the time I'm done dripping it, it's basically going to be like a stir mouth, and there's going to be like this little blaze of heat coming up from this area. And I'm going to kind of rub my hands in front of it, and then look over to Alliyah and be like, perhaps you'd like to warm yourself. But be careful, it's hot. And I would just kind of walk away from it.
Alliyah, who has just barely stopped shivering from his little dip in the water previously, says, "Thank you, Parts. It's greatly appreciated. But well, why are we stopping here? We do not know where we are. We do not know how long we will be here. We should get out of here as soon as we can. No."
I don't want to push us too hard after after what had just happened, and we are away from the main area, as I know sound travels far down here, so we shouldn't be under too much scrutiny from all the explosions from earlier.
And Alliyah looks like he's about to argue, but he stops. He says, "Yeah, yes, of course." And just sits to warm himself by this fire.
How well do we all know each other from up top, from the mining?
We're a team, yo, with nicknames and everything.
Okay.
Like, we've worked frequently together. We may have been mixed into other teams as our specialties were needed or borrowed, but this would be our, main crew.
Yeah, that's what I was getting the vibe of. I just want to be sure. I was about to ask you guys where you're from, but that wouldn't make sense. Yeah, so I would just kind of smirk at Alliyah kind of getting warm again, because it's always cold. No matter where we are, always cold.
It's not my fault that you and these Kalusan mountains have such a cold climate.
It's refreshing, though.
It's how you know you're still alive, when you can feel it.
Sort of shakes his head. Camaraderie. Yeah, camaraderie.
Personally, I prefer at least a slight layer of sweat. Far more invigorating.
And with that, maybe some more light conversation, you find yourselves, luckily, undisturbed for the rest of what you're assuming is the night. And when the last shift is over, and all three of you are awake, you awaken to this dark, freezing cave and rumbling stomachs. So, if everyone can start the day with a will roll, please.
Alright, so for those viewing, I must apologize for any question I asked, because this is my first time playing Real Fate. So, how does this go? So,
you take those 46s you have, right?
Okay.
You roll them, and tell me what you roll on each die, please.
Alright, well, I rolled only 5s.
Oh, 4 5s? Really?
Yep.
Oh, well, damn. That, in your case, is 4 pluses. That's the highest you can roll.
Excellent. And
so
that's a will roll, correct?
Yes, so add your will skill to that number. So 4 plus your will.
6. So 4 plus 2.
4 plus 2, 6. You are incredibly stalwart against this hunger. It is not phasing you very much at all. Almost like you're very used to it. And just for the viewers at home, hopefully there are some of you. He doesn't have any fate dice, so he's using d6s. And it's if you roll a d6, the 1 and 2 are a negative, the 3 and 4 are a blank, and the 5 and 6 are a plus. So no, you don't need to go out and buy all new dice to play fate.
So let's roll because we're hungry.
Yes, you're waking up very hungry, so the will roll is necessary.
I got something I want to try then.
Oh.
I reach out into the earth, and I learned this trick from my grandpa. Sometimes you can sense the lizards and stuff that live in the caves down here. And I'm seeing if I can sense any lizards.
Okay. Something like tremor sense. Okay, so I'll let you choose here. You can pick any power level you want. The higher the power level, the greater the range, which means the higher chance of you finding some food.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
I'm going to go... See, the problem is we cannot let our resources keep getting depleted. Just to make sure, did I get my water elemental back to its normal state because I let it sit in water?
Yes. Thank you for reminding me. I should have asked you for that when you went to bed that night. But yes, he is fully recharged.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put 3 points in it.
Okay. So please roll me discipline.
4.
Oh, you control it masterfully. With that, describe to me how it is exactly that you're sensing these motions. What it is you do to enact this magic. What does it look like for the rest of your crew members?
Actually, I'm sitting there on my knee, like on one knee, and you see me just kind of lightly punching the stone, like almost knocking, I guess.
And with that, inaudibly to everyone except for yourself, because you're the one doing this, you can feel the reverb on your fist. And you get almost this unconscious image in your head. For the most part, it is blank stone for hundreds of feet. You know there's motion. You can sense it. A small motion, those creatures you're looking for. But unfortunately, in this area that you're at, it is inaccessible to you without spending the time to dig through maybe 20, 30 feet of stone. But you know that there is life down here.
Well, boys, it looks like for now we're going to have to tighten our belts up unless anybody can... Well, I didn't think about it. I wonder if there's any fish in the water.
I might be able to finagle some sort of fishing pole with what bits and pieces we have.
Fine.
I would kind of look at my explosives and be like, back home we would sometimes...
No,
Oh.
says Yoku. We are not throwing explosives in the water.
Yeah, he would just go,
Sounds like fun to me. Okay, so I guess first thing is, can I reach out into the water and just see if there's fish in the water?
That you can do the same thing. You can send you could either try to reach out and sense it, or you could send your elemental out within a range to try to catch some fish without you.
Yeah, let's just send the elemental out.
Okay. So yeah, the only issue with that is that you won't be able to use any of his. You won't have access to any of its magic while it's gone. But you can call him back, obviously. Mm-hmm. So, I saw Rory. You rolled a 3, so you will take 1 mental stress. Yoku, what was your will roll for the hunger?
I was gonna ask if I could roll an endurance instead.
The first stages, the way I set it up, the first stages of hunger are all in your head, and then after a few days, it's gonna be endurance.
All right. In that case, -3.
Wow.
This always confuses me. It's just the first bubble, or it's one bubble? Like,
It's bubble. Like, for example, if you were to take a stress of 2, you would took a scratch on the second bubble.
That's what
it doesn't take both, just the second bubble.
Okay, yeah, I always mix that up. Sorry about that.
Very good.
So, -3, Yoku. You are not one to miss your breakfast.
I'd like to more, since this is a will point, I'd like to more attribute it to the fact that, once again, this would be the 3rd time he's been part of a crew that has lost so many members to a tragedy, and this is just shaking him because he did not want to ever see this again.
Yeah, and it's hitting you really hard right now. Based on that, you're going to end up taking 4 mental stress. Do you have that many bubbles?
I do not.
So, you're going to have to take a consequence.
Let's see.
If he starts coming over here to start eating one of us as a consequence, I'm telling you right now, this is going to turn very ugly.
That's not a consequence. In this case, could it be? I'd say absent-minded, but it's more the fact that his mind keeps casting back towards the past.
Okay, so maybe beleaguered by the past.
That works for me, and that would be a mild, correct? For
yes,
2?
yeah. If that's what you need.
Because I can take the 2 and then the 2.
Okay, perfect. And Muddy, I don't think I got your roll.
4.
4. You don't take any stress. You're right on that edge. You're hungry, but it hasn't affected your mental faculties at all yet. So, with that, I believe you all are agreed to continue onwards to try to find the exit of this place before you begin to eat each other. Yes. So, you continue.
So, who is the fattest one of us?
Not me.
Like the death stare.
Well, it'd probably be Yoku, considering he has so much goddamn muscle. If you mean by one who has the most mass.
Well, I mean, he's the one who's gonna go crazy first, let's be real.
What? No, you don't know that. Yoku's a very dependable guy.
Yes, but he's already... I think he's already licking his lips.
No, he would not. He would not.
Are you saying he might have a
Rick? At the walls.
Are you saying he might have a Rick Grimes moment?
Oh God.
He just sees me as a big old walking carrot.
No.
So, with that, you continue your walk through these seemingly unending caves. This
going eastward, still aiming eastward, because of the compass.
Eastward as much as you can. This cave seems to be carved out by this river. Maybe years and possibly, most likely, centuries of erosion have created this smooth surface. You imagine that river is probably fairly deep, but none of you are willing to test it at this moment. So, because of its strong current. this is winding, and based on the compass, it wanders north and it wanders south, but it continues to empty out eastwards in total. And again, it is a long, slow travel, mainly because of the slick floor. It completely kills any quick movement. So probably the most galling aspect of this is the fact that you can't see more than 20 feet in front of you, except for this bluish green glow from. Actually, no, you don't even have that at the moment, since it's the water elemental is fishing right now. So what light sources would you be able to muster amongst yourselves?
Well, I can see a little bit better than most people in these conditions. So I don't know what exactly I can see or how far that goes, but I have some idea of where we're going. I'm not walking completely blind.
Okay. So are you all following blind the sound of his voice, or are there any light sources amongst you?
I would like to make a resource check to see if I have some kind of headlamp or something. Like, those ones you can strap on your head?
Yeah, the classic miner headlamp.
One match.
What was that?
I said she has one match.
One match.
No.
Make it count.
That is a 2.
A 2. That would be exactly what you have. It's a standard issue Imala Market headlamp. Kind of like, it's your construction hat with the lamp on it. And it's powered by a small sprite of some kind. And you've, because yesterday you were using the phosphorescent glow of the elemental, you didn't need to use it. But you know that the charge on it probably won't last you more than a day tops before you need to recharge it. And to recharge it, you need daylight. So
Damn it.
you have approximately 12 hours of use out of it. So use it as you will.
Alright, well, since we're fishing, I'm assuming we're going to take some time to see if we can gather some food resource from the river before we move on.
Okay. Oh, excuse my cough. So, Muddy's, what did you call him? Hera? Hera, the elemental, is currently scouring the river for sea life. Muddy can call him back at any moment to see what he has captured so far. So, but you guys have been walking in the meantime.
Okay, so she's following us while we're making our way?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, then I've got the headlamp active. Joy.
Okay, then I'll pull her back and see what we got.
Right. So, what kind of check would that be? Let's go with...
Resource?
In this case, I would say investigate. Or notice. One of those two, Charles.
A 3.
A 3. Nice. So, after probably trekking for what you assume is several hours, you guys probably take a sit down for a second to rest your legs, and you see this. At first, it looks almost like a bubble, kind of emerging from the river itself, and kind of just like plop itself onto the shore. It's this the small elemental you know as Hera, and from it is currently not glowing, but from it kind of like grows and then bloop bloop and plops down 2 shiny, almost on borderline transparent silverfish. Each one maybe 8 to 12 inches long. it's not much of a catch. But honestly, you're probably lucky to find that many fish at all. So, 4 people, 2 fish. What is? How do you all react to this?
5 people.
I recommend we divide this by size. The big guy gets the big portion
Yoku will go with that today.
before he turns us into smaller people.
Yeah, I was going to say, can I invoke an aspect on her? She just goes ahead and starts eating the fish.
Are you sure you want to do that? Because I have many aspects to invoke in return that will ensure that I don't.
Let's Yoku doesn't have very many troubles that would make him that selfish, unfortunately. So yeah, it'll be up to you guys to decide how you divvy it up.
I don't need any this time. It won't be the first meal I've missed.
Well, sadly, I think we all had to have a little bit, but I do kind of think like the big guy ought to have a little more.
Yeah, just give me a little nibble to tide me over.
Now, how are we going to cook it?
I could probably make another one of those heat cookers, as I call them.
Sushi.
Could I just start doing that?
Make another sterno.
Yeah, I think the one from last night would have already burnt out. I could try to wash it away and then refill it.
Yeah, that's exactly what you can do. The first one was a freebie. So now, since you do have a finite supply, please give me for you, I think it's a craft roll. Luckily, the power level for that's very low, so beat a 2 if you can.
Okay, I got a 1 on the roll, and I have 3 in crafting, so that's a 4.
You beat it with a bunch of style. So, luckily, you managed to scrape together basically extras from previous things, and you weren't with that much success. You didn't dip into your crucial supplies, so you don't take any resource point damage. So yeah, you managed to create the small bonfire to heat up your fish, so you don't have to eat any sushi.
Nice. All right, at least we can cook. Let's get it on there. I'm hungry. I know he is.
So, you guys spend some time at what you assume is your lunchtime. You basically cooking it up and eating this small meal. The meager meal is enough to, if you had mental stress from the hunger, you can wipe that. If you had a consequence from the hunger, it won't wipe it, but it will begin the healing process. So it will eventually, your consequence will now go away in the time period it's supposed to go away in. It's not filling by any means, but at least it's something in your bellies. That and the ice cold water. So is there would there be any kind of chatter between you guys while you're down here eating your food, or would you just eat in silence and then march on?
So I would, I think, see the distance in Yoku's eyes. We're a pretty consistent team. We'll be able to tell that he's sort of thinking about dark days. And I would kind of look over and be like, look on the bright side, Yoko. Looks like at some point on this journey I'll probably get to blow something up.
It twitches a grin on the edge of his lips, but that's the only response you get from him, because he's resolutely not looking at all the food you guys are eating. Since he's voted himself for no today.
Hey, Yoku. You remember that brown-haired girl that used to come around, make you those hand pies?
I do. What of her?
If you're talking, Charles, you're still muted. There.
Damn it. Now I forget what I was saying.
Brown-haired girl. All right. So, with that, you guys eat your food. The meager food filling you slightly enough giving you enough energy to charge onward and travel down these mines, these caves, I should say, not mines. And you continue. Yet again, it's almost mind-numbing at a certain point. It's one thing to be working in your mind, maybe not talking, just sitting there drilling and collecting and moving back and forth. That's tiring work and doesn't require a lot of thought. But this is just ridiculously mind-numbing. Hardly any sight in front of you, and hardly any change in scenery, and no sounds except for whatever breathing you guys are doing and the babbling of the river next to you. It's almost concerning how long you've been traveling without seeing any change. And this goes on for, again, hours and hours and hours. So, with that, it's luckily you're comrades for the most part. You're co-workers. You're friendly. But this mind-numbingness, this brings up old thoughts, unnecessary things. Maybe, why don't all of you roll me a will check, please? A will roll.
Who rolls it?
All of you, please.
I got a 2.
Okay. Okay, and it seems like the rest of you put it in there. Interesting. So, for the most part, it's just this thought in the back of your head, maybe an old rivalry or an old pain, something that is an old annoyance at your co-workers here. But for you, Yoko, you've been here a while. You've been working in these mines for a long time. You have a certain way of doing things. There's always been something about parts that has bothered you. maybe not, maybe whatever it is you decide, but there's something about him that has bothered you, and you have to bring it up right now. What is that?
Are you compelling me with my current consequence?
No, actually I was going based on the 0 on your roll.
Damn it. Okay. Oh, okay. Parts. Why do you keep your chemicals in glass vials? That's really unsafe if anything breaks. Why not anything iron? Or steel?
Well, I suppose in all your training in the alchemical arts, you were never taught that metal can sometimes react with chemicals and does not hold as well as glass. Has there ever been an accident? One that I didn't intend, of course.
So you just accept that this is how it is and don't seek to make yourself safer? Find another way around it?
Safer than glass? Well, it's, no, I suppose it's never occurred to me. Do you know of something? Oh, that'd be fun. What do you know of?
The only thing I could think of would be resin at the moment. It's not something I oft work with, but if you're looking for something that has durability and may not interact with chemicals.
Oh, resin soaks up the chemicals, it concentrates them in the bottom, it ruins the whole thing, and it doesn't break very well when you try to throw it. No, that wouldn't do at all.
Why not mold the glass? Why not mold steel or iron around the glass? A second layer, if you will.
Well, I suppose that's possible. I'm no blacksmith, though. That sounds complex.
Yoku, please roll me another will.
Oh, sweet baby Jesus, I have it too.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. With that also, Muddy, roll me a notice. So, Yoku, and just post it in the chat if you can. If not, just say it out loud, Muddy. But Yoku, whatever that nagging feeling... Yes, Charles? Whatever that nagging feeling was, it's subsided now. It's almost like there was this this dull ringing in the back of your neck, and it's gone now. You didn't realize it was there until just now. And you don't even know why you brought up that subject, honestly.
Would I recognize that as being something other than myself, or?
Possibly. It's actually,
just out of character for myself?
That's definitely something out of character for you. Maybe you would blame it on the hunger. Or the...
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But with that, Muddy, what did you get on your notice?
Eat a Snickers.
Eat a Snickers. All right.
Chuck, what'd you get on the notice?
A 3.
A 3. Okay. So you say that comment. Maybe not a Snickers, but the equivalent in this place. And but you notice something weird as you're walking. Maybe you were touching the stone, but your constant, not constant, but your repeated use of the vibration sense from I forgot the name of your earth elemental.
Crusher.
Crusher? All right. From Crusher has made you maybe a little bit more sensitive to these kind of things. There was in the moments before Yoku's strange comment, there was a hum in just vibrating, inaudible, but you felt it instead of heard it, and then it stopped.
I take and tap my foot, and when I do, I use like a cantrip level amount of energy to just kind of create a vibration to go out from my foot and see if I get a reaction from it.
Okay, that's fair enough. If you're just looking for a little reaction, roll me provoke then, please.
Sorry, what?
Just give me a provoke roll. It won't deplete your energy levels at all. It's just since you're just looking for a reaction.
3.
So with that, from out of the silence, there is a very audible screech coming from every direction, bouncing off of every wall. It's almost deafening here, actually. If everyone could please roll me an endurance.
That would be a 2 for me.
2 for you, okay. Okay, there we go. So, this audible screech, it's incredibly loud and only amplified by these reverberating stone walls. Yoku and parts seem to be it's an annoyance to you, but you're unfazed for the most part. Muddy, you take 1 physical stress from it as you see as you feel a little bit dizzy, but nothing too bad. But this seems to be affecting you quite a bit. Alliyah, you suffer 3 physical stress as blood drips down from your ear. And seeing as you are the most affected by this, you wouldn't notice when this streak of pitch black comes out of the darkness through the light from the helmet on Yoku, and just slams directly into you and begins to drag you away into the darkness. And with that, we will go with all your initiatives. So if you could please put your notices into the chat. Chuck, you could just say it out loud.
3.
3 is your notice. Let me write that down.
I'm not bad at noticing.
Yeah, that's good. You're gonna need it. So we got Muddy. Okay. Oh man, alright. I'm sorry if I pause before I say your names, guys. It takes me a little bit to learn character names.
I want to say right now that Alliyah's screaming a whole lot. And he can't even hear himself.
So, Muddy, you see Alliyah get slammed by this what looks like flying mantle, just like almost like a tablecloth flying through the air, just made of pitch darkness, hitting him, and then basically gliding and just dragging him down away from the group. But you have a chance to react. What do you do?
I reach out with my earth elemental, and I'm going to use 1 point of his energy and basically pull a chunk up out of the ground and fling it at the creature.
Okay. So,
in fact, you know what? I'm going to take and kick the ground and do a little earthbender kind of boom.
Very cool. Very cool. All right.
kick it out, and then reach out and do like a side kick and kick it at it.
All right. So since that is your type of your kind of casting, set a power level and give me a discipline roll, please.
I'm just doing 1 point, and hold on my discipline roll.
Okay.
A 3.
A 3. All right. So its athletics was also a 3. So you basically you nick it with that stone hits it, and you deal it 1 physical damage because you did power level 1. So the creature is hit but not stopped. You see the rest of you see him do that motion. That rock basically sails and hits the top of this creature and bounces off and plops into the river. And now it's the creature's turn. It is going to try to maintain the grapple on you. So, Alliyah, you can try to either use your might or your athletics to break free from this. And you have to beat a 4.
Oh boy. Well, as you said, might or athletics?
Yes.
Alright, he's just gonna try to use raw power and try to just rip this thing off of him.
Okay.
And that's a 3. Wait,
So you get-
yeah, it's a 3, not bad.
Okay. So you get some give, but it's just all encompassing. You don't even know what it is. It's just you went from seeing some light and your friends, and then the headache, and then yes, exactly that darkness and movement, backwards movement. You have no idea how far you are in relation to the rest of your group right now. And you feel this stabbing pain in the center of your back. So you're going to take 1 physical damage right now. No roll, just straight 1 physical stress. As something is piercing into your spine. Or at least near it. So parts. You, being very acclimated to this darkness, you saw that thing coming just outside the rim of light. But unfortunately, it was coming in too fast, and with that sound, it slowed you down just enough so that you couldn't react in time, but you can react now. It hasn't escaped the circle of light yet. What do you do?
So I'm going to kind of start moving towards it. I don't know if what I'm about to describe is possible, so just bear with me and just let me know. I want to basically go towards it so that I won't lose it, because I can see a little bit in the dark, so I might be able to keep an eye on it longer. So I want to close the distance between it, but I also want to be pulling out one of those metal, they look like cigar tubes.
Okay.
But the idea is that what I like to do for demolitions is I take like the appropriate chemical mixtures out in the glass vials, and I kind of pour them into these cigar tubes and I seal it. And it's the pressure and the reaction with the metal and the 2 chemicals that actually makes the explosion happen. So what I'm trying to do is take the cigar tube out, take out 2 vials with my other hand, and kind of like in a practiced way, pour one and then the other and cap it. And this is essentially like, I don't know how you feel, but for a weapon, I was kind of looking at this as being most similar to like the flintlock, because it would have to be loaded each time with a chemical mixture. So it would take some time to load, and then it would do some similar-esque damage. But I don't know how you would think of a weapon like this.
Okay. And that's exactly what I was thinking. Sorry I didn't discuss that with you before.
I forgot to bring it up.
But yes, that is something that is specifically what your ability is for, capping it, and you can throw it. What power level did you want to set it for?
Oh, okay. If I'm able to get the throw off too. Okay, so
this is just a quick, 1-2 toss.
Yeah, I read what you had sent me about the alchemy, but I didn't know what the levels were. I do know it gets harder the more I raise the level of damage, though.
Yeah, so your damage, your capacity for damage is dictated by your lore skill.
Okay.
So you can safely make up to your lore, so that'll only drain your resources if you don't fail the roll by 1. If you go any higher than that, it mandatorily drains 1 more resource for every point higher than your lore.
Okay, no, I put a high lore on purpose because this is my area of expertise. So I'll just use the level 4 that my lore matches.
Okay, and then give me a craft to see if you make it properly.
All right, so that's a 5, 6, a 1, and a 1. So 0'd out on the roll, but I have a 3 crafting skill.
Okay, so you fail it by 1, but that just means that you either make a weaker bomb or you'll drain 2 resources to make it.
I actually think I'll take a weaker bomb because I was a little worried about throwing this bomb anyway, so close to my companion here.
That makes sense.
I'll sort of like accept the weakness and just kind of throw it.
Okay. All right. So do you have ranged?
Yes, I do.
All right, give me that.
Okay, so that's better. That's going to be a 1 on the dice roll, plus my 2 in ranged is another 3.
3. So you quickly make this ad hoc bomb, and at 3 I have a total of negative plus 3, so I got a 2. You beat me by 1, and it's a weapon 3 bomb, so you deal 4 damage to this creature.
Awesome. So how is that 4 on a scale of is it a big?
That is actually a what you would consider a great explosion. So it is a huge ball. Maybe a ball of fire that's maybe about 4 or 5 feet in diameter, and this creature is blasted down to the ground. It bounces off the stone, and it basically opens its flaps. Not dead, but it has released Alliyah. Alliyah, take 2 physical damage from the shock of you take half the damage that this creature does. So take 2 physical stress. With that,
yeah, I'm going to need to take a mild consequence with that.
Oh yes, okay. Why don't we call that one? Shocked. I'm thinking it's just
Singed
mainly
hair?
yeah, singed. Let's just call it singed. As you roll out of this, battered, stabbed, and a little bit cooked. Yoku, once the ball of blue light is, once you finish seeing a bright blue ball in the center of your vision, you can take your turn.
Can I see the creature with my headlamp?
Yes, swiveling your head over to it. You see it has let go of its prey and has started to flap away.
Oh no, it don't. I advance, if necessary, advance the zone to get up to it, and I beat it to death.
You don't have to advance the zone. Luckily, it's still within your zone. So go ahead.
Hey, that's potential food.
Exactly.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
This is what would have been the rest of you guys in another day.
And it's hot and ready.
Yeah.
That would be a 3.
Put it on the Barbie.
That is exactly what the creature rolled for athletics to try to dodge. So, what weapon are you using?
I've got a hammer, which is weapon 2, since it's one-handed.
Ah, fantastic. So you deal 2 physical stress to it. Ooh, he is looking rough. One of its, it doesn't seem to have 2 separate wings. It looks like almost like you see an image of a manta ray basically trying to fly outside of water. And it takes off a little bit, and you bash it into the ground with your hammer. But it is not out for the count yet. That leaves Alliyah now. You see Yoku has slammed his hammer into this creature not but a few feet from your head, and this creature is trying to escape. What do you do?
Suddenly more confidence than he was just moments ago. Well, everyone beating the tar out of this thing. He's He's gonna run over and try to grab it and slam it against a wall or something, like beating a rug.
Yeah. Okay, that I could see that as unarmed, or might if you want to go that route.
I think I'm gonna take unarmed with that.
Okay.
And did very poorly and rolled a 1.
I am sorry, because I rolled 3 pluses plus 3, so I got a 6. So you go to reach for it, and like a rug being snatched out from your hands, it just slips right out. And actually, it slips from your hands, and it almost leaves the zone. But Muddy gets one final reaction before this creature breaks away from you lot into the darkness.
Okay. I take my water sense. And I don't know if this will work, but I'm going to try.
Okay.
I take my water sense, and I want to sense for its inner ear and see if it has it. If it does, cause them to burst.
That is very fine control. I'm definitely gonna set that power at that would be a good amount of power. So let's set that at 3. So roll me discipline, please.
Three.
Ooh, right on the money. Do me a favor, mark off 1 mental stress, or actually 1 physical stress from your water elemental.
Okay.
And also, tell me what it looks like incapacitating this creature.
Okay. It tries to scramble away from getting hit. And you can see it try to start to take flight. And it kind of gets itself spread out and getting a little air under it. And then all of a sudden you can see it's what is its head just kind of tips down and it just crashes headfirst into the ground. Kind of sliding along to a little bit.
Nice. And it is just that. It's like this dark black mantle just flopping, trying to figure out which way is up, which way is down, and failing. I assume one of you puts it out of misery so that you can commence with eating it. I will. Yoku seems to volunteer, finishes it, and I assume you have lunch. Is that the case?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Does anybody among us have survival, out of curiosity?
Like it a 1.
I don't.
Alright. Well, Muddy, do you want to give it a shot? Or I could just give it a random shot? Maybe if I just hit it with my hammer enough to tenderize it, everything will be fine. That's about my level of expertise there.
What is it you're trying to figure out about it?
No, just cutting out organs and flesh and basically dressing the animal so we can eat it and not accidentally go, oh, I spilled the stomach all over half the muscle and we can't eat it. Oops.
All right, then. So, yeah.
Oh, did you know that acid would eat through your skin? Shit.
Oh, God, it smells like Aunt Laura. Oh, my God, make it stop.
All right.
So yeah, it smelled like White Castle?
Oh, my God.
So any one of you can give that a shot. Yoku, since you're holding it, you can be the first one up. Just I would call that survival.
I need to borrow it for a moment.
That's a good
Anybody have
question.
something pointy?
Probably no one.
I don't carry that. I look through my pockets. I'm like, no, nothing pointy.
Alright, time to do a resource check in my pockets. Good Lord knows I'll find them there. Nothing. I find nothing. With the help of nothing.
So, it probably takes you guys a while as a group. But you probably would manage to find a rock or something that's sharp enough to use. Or like that could be sharp enough to use after hitting with your hammer a bit.
Does Alliyah have anything sharp?
That's a good question. Can he answer us right now?
He just came back. But he doesn't seem to be hearing us.
Alliyah?
Oh, he can hear us.
Right.
Yeah, I can hear you. I know.
Do you have anything sharp and pointy?
His tongue.
Sharp and pointy. It's that comedy just gives like a little smirk, but he feels up his pockets. I wouldn't normally. No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So no, we're out of luck.
Perhaps a sharp
any of those
rock
fish
might
bones from
work.
earlier? Out of curiosity, did we keep any of those fish bones from earlier?
I didn't.
Okay, note to self, we keep those next time for something pointy, and holy shit, I don't know how Yoku's gonna cut this thing open.
Alliyah suggested a sharp rock.
Alright, well,
I'll do a
find a
notice
sharp
check
rock.
to see if I can.
Go and investigate.
Oh, investigate. Yeah, good idea.
I just love the
Find
image.
the rock!
I love the image of you guys desperately trying to find something to cut this thing open with.
I have a
So-
3.
Okay.
While they're going to get the rock, though, I just want to real quick. I want to tag my aspect and use a fate point. I kind of want to create a new stunt based off my aspect of tunnel expert. I want to go towards where I threw that bomb and do this move that I would call like tremor sense. I want to try to make sure that my bomb didn't cause any weakening in the structure to make sure we're not about to be under any significant danger here.
That's definitely doable. And you want it to be a new stunt, so yeah, that's the perfect way to go about it.
I think I'll use this again. So yeah, I would think that it would be a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. So it would probably be, in your case, allowing you to use your lore to examine after the fact, instead of another skill that would normally be used. So you can make your roll for that while I narrate what Yoku did, which is basically find a river rock and smash it until you got a sharp enough piece to to start cutting this thing open and hopefully not finding anything too acidic in there.
Woo! Perfectly hammer-handed, I may say. Do I need to roll a survival check on the fish now? I mean, the
yes.
not fish.
It's definitely not a fish. It didn't come from the water.
Oh, bitch, yeah, I got a 3.
Nice.
I mean,
That is-
yes, I'm not
Quit telling
cussing.
him to make rolls. Quit giving him chances to make it harder on us.
Why don't you start taking some of the slack, Muddy? What?
How many times have I saved your life?
Technically, none so far. I swam myself.
And then I'll kind of nod a little bit, be like, well, there was that one time in, what was it, the Brecken Tunnel over on the north side, when it was about to cave in. Conveniently forgetting, I say.
Well, it's hard for me to want to remember when I found myself pantsless amongst all of my coworkers thanks to some very fun rock slides.
Oh, rock slides. Those are great ideas.
Oh, quit being so. What is the word? Prudish. Pantslessness happens. Get over it.
Let's eat this slimy manta wing. Get on.
And that's exactly what happens. You guys spend the next bit stripping and cleaning and trying to find as much meat on this thing as you can. This strange creature there's more meat on it than the fish, but it's It's still not quite enough for 4 grown men, but still better than nothing. So this will negate any need to make a will save tonight before you go to bed.
And I rolled a 5 on the lore check. With the,
Yes.
10%.
Thank you for reminding me on that. Yes, with that, you kind of examine the site of the explosion. You see some char marks, but there aren't any fault lines, and nothing seems to have been shaken too bad. So you don't think you're in any significant danger of a cave-in right now.
Yeah, so as we finish up the food, I'm like, oh, I almost forgot. I double checked. I didn't blow up the tunnel, so we're good, which is good news because we were here eating. So, yeah. And then he goes back to eating again because he maybe isn't as worried as other people would be in this situation.
Nice. Okay. So.
But you guys might be worried.
I've been sipping on this whiskey. Did I tell you about that?
And trust me, I'm pretty sure it looks good. My senses aren't as wobbly as Muddy over there.
Well, thank you for double checking that for us.
So long as he doesn't try to store Hera.
My magic don't work unless I'm drunk.
As long as he doesn't try to store Hera in a whiskey flask again, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, he did almost kill us that time.
Oh man. And with that, maybe slightly more jovial now that you have some food and water in your bellies. Maybe slightly battered on Alliyah's part. You all continue on. And this trend seems to continue for what you're going to assume are days. It's several sleep cycles. It's far longer than you intended to be down here. But what you think are 5 days have passed. Excuse me. And we will start this on the 5th morning with a endurance roll. Because unfortunately for these past 4 days, you have not been so lucky as to be attacked by another creature.
Sorry, what does that mean for hunger?
The endurance roll. I'm sorry if I thought I mentioned that. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I missed it.
Yeah. Since it's been more than 3 days, now it's an actual physical need.
Gotcha. So for me, it's a 4.
4. Okay. Endurance, yes.
2.
Ooh, okay. So, Rory with a 4, you take 2 physical stress. Sorry if you guys can hear my kid in the background. Muddy, I forgot your name again. Muddy, with a 2, you take 4 physical stress. Does that mean you need to take a consequence or no?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go ahead and call as a physical consequence. What do you think about empty stomach? I think that should be easy enough, yeah?
Grouchy.
Yeah. So, Yoku, you end up taking 3 physical stress, and Alliyah, you take 2 physical stress. Yeah. Everyone is suffering from not having food for the past 3 or so days. You've been down here way too long. The helmet's out of gas. You're running low on some of your basic supplies, parts. You haven't had to make any more explosions, but creating fire might be an issue in the future. And currently, the only well-fed creatures here would be the elementals Hera and Crusher. Yeah. So, how are you all mentally faring right now? What does this new day of travel look like with you four?
Well,
I don't know, but I'm starting to regret the don't piss me off problem.
yeah, my one of my problem is impatience. So, like, there was enough action in the beginning to keep me going, but besides just being mildly hungry, the kind of two mental stresses are kind of combating each other right now, because I'm also getting very impatient, and I'm like, everyone else might start to see me looking around and kind of fidgeting with my vials, just kind of looking for something to blow up, which, as we've been told in some of my early master apprentice sessions, it's never good to go looking for something to blow up. It's always better to let it come to you.
And Alliyah, more and more becomes hatchier with every day that passes, and starts really being like, Yoko, when are we going to leave? Like, when can we get out of here? Do you know what? Like, and just keeps complaining to Yoko about, we need to leave like as soon as possible. Like, this is not a good situation. We got to get out of here.
Okay, with that in mind, Yoko would look you dead in the eye and tell you, what's that one thing that you want to see most in the entire world right now? I imagine it's your daughter, yes?
Yes.
When you find yourself being overcome by your need to escape, I want you to think about her and that she needs you. And the only way you're going to see her again is if you keep going. No matter how long it takes.
Yes, hence why we need to get out of here as soon as possible.
I will dunk you in this river. To calm you down. Just keep your mind on your daughter. I have my mind on something as well. Which, speaking of Sam, I would like to create an aspect, I guess, trying to use my will. For trying to focus his thoughts on Shay and not the mind-numbing boringness.
Ah, okay. Trying to mentally brace yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because this is getting old fast. I sucked at it, but I tried.
What did
I
you
got
get?
like a -3.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah,
It might actually happen. It might have the reverse effect. You actually instead of focusing on her, you're longing for her. And that's just adding to the aggravation. The thought
because
of
none of you are her.
Exactly. Hopefully, none of them will become her in your mind. So.
Oh Jesus.
So with that, you all muddle through. You continue through this winding cave system. The ice cold river still chilling the air. But there's something different. The normally silent travel is filled in with a background noise that you haven't heard in days. Aside from your own footsteps and haggard breathing, you hear almost a crashing, like water, like a constant rushing of water off in the distance. And as you travel, it gets louder and louder until you round one of these large bends, and you can see that the cave, the tunnel that you're in, drops off, as does the river, into a large waterfall. And if you go near, you can see that there is a faint glow down down at the end of this crevasse, hidden by the mist of all this crashing water. You don't know how far down this cliff goes, but you know there's something creating light down there.
When he first heard the crashing, he thought it was an explosion, and he got really excited. And then at its prolonged extension, he realized that it wasn't. It was just rushing water, and just I think if you were paying attention, you'd notice his mood go from the 3 that it was to a 9, and then drop right back down again to a 2. Just more water. Oh, damn.
Yoko, does anything else live down here that you know of?
I know as much as you, my friend. Generally, we don't run across too many monsters, and definitely not creatures that are water-based. I just pray the Samantu have blessed us with an out rather than a no way out. You actually see him. He's literally considering the waterfall. How tall is it?
It's definitely at least 30 feet is your guess, at least. But you can't actually see the bottom because the water seems to be crashing down on stone, like everything else down here, and causing it to mist out. And with the glow, it makes it nearly impossible to gauge proper distance past that mist.
What kind of glow is it? What color would you say?
Oh, it's a fairly greenish color, like a phosphorescent glow. Kind of almost ebbing a little bit.
Where is it exactly? Is it just at the bottom of the waterfall? Are we gazing out into a cavern?
You're gazing out into a cavern, a large cavern, and the bottom of the waterfall, and the glow seems to go backwards from there for, again, a somewhat unknown distance because of the pitch blackness and the mist.
So we don't have any. Does anyone have any rope on them?
When Yoko asked for rope and seeing him looking over the edge, again, I'll kind of start pulling out my vials and be like, back home, we used to make dams by blowing, and nobody, he kind of looks around and nobody has stopped him. He just goes, well, by blowing it up.
No offense to you and your kinsman parts, but in this case, the water may actually be an assistant in getting us past these rocks. As opposed to if there was no water, we would just go blam and hit the ground.
Fine.
There will come a time that there will be more explosions. I know you. I know you want to see more, but it will happen.
He kind of just gets sullen again and just kind of looks over and goes, I don't have any rope. Don't climb things.
My resource check for rope is, I can do math, hold on. A 1. Oh no, it's 0. Okay, so I probably don't have rope.
You did at one point. That's why you knew you had rope at some point, but this is the first time in 5 days where you had to check for it, and you can just picture it being caught somewhere, like in that first waterfall. Because it's not on you now.
Nope. You said it was about 30 feet down?
Minimum 30.
Okay.
You're guessing it probably 30-ish, yeah.
Alright.
Can't be 100%.
How would one go about doing an athletics check to jump myself as far as I can forward, and then trying to go total defense to block any damage?
So, that's a bold move.
I want out of here. Yoku is done with this.
Okay, so from a metagame perspective, I don't think any of you have played enough Fate to know what falling damage is like in Fate. But basically, for every 10 feet, you take 5 stress.
Oh, damn.
So yeah, it's not like D&D, guys. Falling will mess you up. But you can roll. Athletics is the right skill for reducing that. So if this is, in fact, 30 feet, hitting the stones would cause 15 stress, and you can reduce that. But hitting the water would cost significantly less. Diving from 30 feet is safe, if it is in fact 30 feet. So, in that case, all you would have to do is roll an athletics check, and the total you get would subtract from your damage. And since you in particular have something for total defense, you could add that +2 to it.
Yes. And I have to give up a fate point to use that, correct?
No, that's
Okay, cool. It's
that's
passive?
just one. Yeah, it just takes your whole turn in combat, but since this isn't a combat, it's well suited for it.
Alright, my athletics is a 3. And with the +2 would be 5 then.
5 total. Okay. So, with that, all of you get to see Yoku without much debate whatsoever run and jump and clear off the cliff towards the glow and what he assumes is water.
Only one way to find out.
And as he falls down, I'm assuming shield first. I don't know.
Yep.
Falls down through the mist. For a second, you're incredibly worried because you don't hear anything. And then, bloop, you can hear the crash of water. Again, nothing.
And Parks is, you're just going to hear, hoo-hoo, and you guys say, I'm crazy. Whoa.
It reminds me of a guy in my tribe.
You mean another guy in your tribe?
His name was Geronimo.
Geronimo. With that,
I did actually land in water.
You did actually land in water, and you are safe. You rolled high enough to negate the damage exactly.
Holy shit. Is it freezing cold water?
Oh yeah, freezing ice cold water. You're gonna have to make. Thank you for reminding me. Roll endurance. You might still take damage yet.
That is a 2.
2. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. So yes. Well, this is not as cold as before. This is not as cold as the lake. That was so frigid. So you only take 1 physical stress from basically coming up and immediately gasping for air because the ice cold water hits you like a freaking sack of potatoes in the chest. And but you are alive. Do you say anything?
I do. So you see him, because it takes you a second to realize he's even running, because he's usually a guy that just doesn't move. He kind of sets his feet in a stance, like he's ready to go, and then he just literally takes off in this, like, half jump, half swan dive over it. You can clearly see he takes his shield, he usually has it over his arm, and he kind of tucks it under his feet, and you just hear the whole, you're not sure if he made it through because the sound from the waterfall is a little bit loud. But then you hear his voice go, "Woo! Colder than a witch's tits, boys!"
Wait a minute, what did you just say?
He yelled, "Colder than a witch's tit, boys."
Oh, okay, not what I thought I heard.
Nope.
Alright. So what do you guys do? One of your own has made it safely.
I'm looking around. Are we doing this? Is this what we're doing? Because
I'm not jumping that.
You got a better idea?
now, if I look over to the side, is there any like is there land to the side again? Like, can I try to climb down? Is what I'm asking, to the side of the water.
There is land to the side of the water, so you could try to climb the cliff face. But remember, it is a wet, slippery cliff face. It's 30 feet straight down to stone. It's not impossible.
Oh, the hell did I jump?
Does he need a roll? Or are we
He
rolling?
does. He needs an athletics roll. I'm sorry. I was just struck by Melissa's reaction on the camera.
I would like my elemental to try to help cushion me when I land in the water.
Ah, all right then. In that case, you can roll athletics at a +1, basically being boosted by your element.
Repeat that. I didn't catch any of that.
Oh, sorry. So you can roll athletics at a +1 because you're being boosted by your elemental.
Oh, a 3.
Okay, nice. So yes, you go through and you don't see anything, and then all of a sudden, plop, in ice cold water once again. You do take 2 physical damage from doing a belly flop, unfortunately, but the worst of it was stopped by your creature.
Parts is going to look over to Alliyah. Just shake his head.
Alliyah's gonna look over at Parts. Are you just realizing now that perhaps that his earth elemental could have made a ladder?
So you're gonna see me just kind of chuckle, and I'm taking my I'm carefully taking my vials and I'm moving them into more secure pockets as I kind of chuckle and walk over to Alliyah, and then I just kind of put my arm on Alliyah's shoulder and I go, "Friend, we can waste time with what was, what could be, what should have been, but these things are behind us now." And he's going to push Alliyah and then jump after.
I'm going to die.
He's gonna land on you is what's gonna happen.
I am careful. I am trying to jump kind of like away, but also towards the splash, because I don't know where there's stone, so I am still aiming for the splash.
So,
Alright, just tell me right now, 14 stress.
Well, it depends. What do you got for your athletics roll, buddy?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
What? Okay, Oh. I got 5.
So you get pushed and you're flipping out, but you basically curl up into a ball and hope to God, or hope to the scales, that you don't hit stone, and before you can open your eyes again, you're back in frigid water, and you can feel behind you another plop, like someone else jumping in the pool right after you. Yeah, as Parts lands in the water as well. You don't take any damage, Alliyah, but Parts, you do take two stress from basically misjudging. You kind of hit the stone at the bottom of the river a little bit hard.
Okay, so this is where my confusion really kicks in. I already had the second stress bubble filled, so now when I take the second, what happens?
It rolls over to the third.
The third, okay.
3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm. It just rolls right over.
So, yeah, I'm going to hit that, and you're just going to, when I do come up, you're going to hear a long string of garbled obscenities. Just, flaming son of a flaming jackpot, and the whiskey bottle on the manta ray's face, and blah, blah, blah.
With that string of obscenities, you all eventually find yourself on shore.
Some of us taking longer than others.
Yes. Again, shivering.
I gladly take Alliyah along with me, knowing he had trouble before, since Part seems to be okay this time.
And I'm going to turn back to Muddy and just make sure he's also coming out and kind of reach out. I'm kind of like hobbling, but I think he is hobbling a little bit as well, so I kind of reach out with my other hand for him and try to give him a hand up.
Nice.
I take his hand. Thank him.
Nice. And with that, with all of you on the shore together, you try to get your bearings. You look around at where you're at. The mist makes it so much worse as this effervescent ice cold particles in the air. But you do see now where the glow is coming from. You see before you this this field of glowing green fungi, mushrooms the size of a man, and just moss all across the stones itself. And everything here has a phosphorescent glow to the center of it. You find yourself in front of a fungus field. And at that site, the four of you in front of this, I think this is a good place to take a break. And maybe a 5 to 10 minute break. Meet back here in about 10-15, yeah? And then we'll introduce ourselves. Sound good?
Over.
All right.
Okay, for the record, I am so amazed that I lived. So amazed.
You've been taking so much damage, too.
Yeah, I rolled like all sixes there.
And I'm not
So-
sorry.
And I've got like only one athletic, so I'm like, I need all four of them, and I'm like,
Good job. Let's see if you can live through the second part.
yeah, praise the scale.